In the Abrahamic faiths, Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, angels stand as the most powerful spiritual entities, second only to the Almighty Creator. They are far more than just ethereal messengers. These beings actively execute divine judgment, usher in miraculous healing, meticulously record every human deed, and stand eternal guard over the fragile boundaries between life and death. Ancient sacred texts speak of countless millions of angels populating creation, an uncountable, vast celestial host. But from that enormous, shining multitude, only 8 names consistently rise to be remembered, revered, and named in tradition. These 8 figures have woven their way through centuries of theological dialogue, appearing across canonical scripture, apocryphal texts, deep mystical writings, and unbroken tradition. You have undoubtedly encountered several of their names already: Michael, Gabriel, Raphael, Lucifer the Fallen, Uriel, Azrael, and Metatron, and one more, the challenging figure of Samuel. These are not merely characters engaged in a distant cosmic drama. Many of them function as direct, living manifestations of God's own attributes: His absolute power, His unyielding justice, His profound mercy, His pure light, and even His necessary wrath. In this episode, we embark on a journey to unpack the profound, deeper stories behind these 8, to understand who they are, the hidden origins of their power, and why their existence continues to shape our understanding of spiritual reality, not just in myth, but in the very foundation of the unseen world. If you find yourself drawn to theology, ancient esoteric texts, or simply curious about the unseen forces that define existence, please hit subscribe, leave a like, and join me on this unforgettable journey. Let us begin with the one who eternally leads the armies of heaven, Michael, the Sword of God. Michael is perhaps the most universally recognized and venerated angel across all Abrahamic traditions. For millennia, Jews, Christians, and Muslims have honored him, not solely as a heavenly warrior, but as the quintessential symbol of divine justice, unwavering loyalty, and potent protection. His name in Hebrew, Mikael, carries a profound meaning: who is like God? This is not a casual statement of observation, but a formidable challenge, a profound cry of ultimate allegiance hurled directly against the possibility of cosmic rebellion. Many believe it was Michael's voice that first rang out in unwavering defiance against Lucifer, the magnificent angel who sought to illegally exalt himself above his creator. Michael is universally depicted as a radiant warrior, fully armored in divine light, his face shining like captured lightning, holding a majestic, flaming sword. His presence is not one of gentle reassurance but of formidable, righteous power. In the Old Testament book of Daniel, he is seen standing resolute against the dark prince of Persia, a powerful spiritual adversary intricately linked to opposing worldly powers. Later, he is explicitly named as the sole protector of Israel, the one who will assuredly rise up in the tumultuous end times. In the book of Jude, Michael engages in a dispute with Satan himself over the body of Moses, yet speaks not with arrogant pride, but with pure reverence, stating simply, "The Lord rebuke you." And in the dramatic climax of Revelation 12, Michael takes center stage, leading heaven's loyal armies to cast down the great dragon, Satan himself. Jewish Midrash expands upon his vital role, speaking of Michael rescuing Abraham from the furnace, standing watch over Samuel, and often being positioned at God's right hand as the living embodiment of divine mercy. In Kabbalah, he is directly associated with Chesed, the principle of loving kindness. Yet, paradoxically, he still burns with the untainted fire of uncompromising justice. In Islam, Michael maintains his reverence but often assumes a gentler, more solemn spirit, serving as the angel of rain, sustenance, and divine care for creation. It is sometimes said that he has never smiled since the very day that hell was first created. Michael is often called Saint Michael, not because he ever experienced human life, but because he is utterly set apart, holy, incorruptible, and aligned in perfect synchronization with God's immutable will. Michael is the sword of heaven, the formidable shield of the righteous, the first to stand firm and unmoving when darkness dares to rise. And among all the vast hosts of heaven, only one angel ever rose high enough, beautiful enough, and dangerous enough to challenge him. Lucifer, the morning star. Lucifer, the rebellious one, remains arguably the single most profoundly misunderstood figure in sacred tradition. The name Lucifer appears only once in the canonical Latin Vulgate translation of Isaiah 14 verse 12. How you have fallen from heaven, Lucifer, son of the morning. But in the original, ancient Hebrew, the word used is Helel ben Shahar, meaning shining one, son of dawn. In Christian tradition, particularly from the 4th century onward, this powerful imagery of a brilliant celestial figure falling from the heights of heaven was inevitably reinterpreted. The figure who fell in consequence of pride became intrinsically associated with Satan, especially when this text was paired with Revelation 12, where Michael successfully casts down the great dragon. Though Scripture itself never explicitly equates Satan with the name Lucifer, the enduring association firmly stuck. Over time, Lucifer became the poetic, evocative name used for Satan before his ultimate ruin, a name that spoke of supreme beauty, blinding brilliance, and spectacular, catastrophic fall. In texts like 1 Enoch, the primal fall is echoed through the chilling story of 200 rebellious angels led astray by a powerful figure identified with Lucifer. Early church fathers, including Augustine and Aquinas, describe Lucifer as the highest, most brilliant of all the angels, cast down for one fatal and consuming sin, pride. The famous phrase non serviam, I will not serve, though not found directly in Scripture, perfectly captures the defiant heart of his fall. Lucifer was not created to destroy. He was magnificent, until he consciously chose to ascend beyond the limits heaven had set for him. He fell not from weakness or deficiency, but from a brilliance that was tragically twisted inward, becoming focused on self-exaltation. Lucifer and Michael, rebellion and loyalty, pride and obedience. Two eternal and opposing forces, both staggeringly powerful. But beyond them stands another entity entirely. A man transformed, not by defiance or pride, but by impossible purity. A humble scribe who now sits in inconceivable proximity beside the divine throne. His name is Metatron, and he is regarded by many as more powerful than them both. Metatron, the most powerful angel. The archangel Metatron does not wield a mighty sword, nor does he command heavenly armies in battle. Yet, he holds something infinitely more enduring, a pen which records cosmic history. And what makes him truly astonishing is this: he was once a mere human being. Still, he is often regarded by esoteric traditions as more powerful and influential than Michael, more transcendent than Lucifer, and far more mysterious than any other angel you have ever heard of. Even his name defies conventional angelic nomenclature. Unlike the clear Hebrew etymologies of Michael or Gabriel, Metatron's name has no clear Semitic origin, making him a rare and fascinating anomaly in the entire angelic hierarchy. Scholars have proposed many complex theories. Some suggest the Greek metathronos, meaning beside the throne. Others propose the Latin metator, meaning guide, pathfinder, or even measurer. Among Kabbalists, the name is frequently viewed as a sacred cipher, a name deemed too holy or perhaps too dangerous to be fully pronounced or understood. That ambiguity alone tells us something crucial. Metatron does not merely fit the system. He transcends it completely. According to ancient Jewish mystical texts, particularly the Talmud, Metatron was once Enoch, the 7th generation from Adam. The book of Genesis states simply, Enoch walked with God. Then he was no more because God took him. But in mystical tradition, this taking was not death. It was an unparalleled transformation and glorification. In the profound book of 3 Enoch, Enoch recounts being exalted into heaven, transformed into the angel Metatron, granted 72 massive wings, 365,000 brilliant eyes, and placed in the immediate proximity of the divine throne. His glory became so overwhelmingly intense that other angels mistook him for God himself and moved to destroy him, because in heaven, only one may sit, and only one may be worshipped. That moment, nearly divine yet still purely creation, defines his paradox. Closer to God than any other created being, yet still ultimately part of creation. Metatron fights no battles and heals no wounded bodies. His transcendent task is to record. He is heaven's ultimate scribe, the one who meticulously documents every deed, every thought, every hidden movement of the soul. In the Talmud, Rabbi Elisha once glimpsed him writing the Book of Life and fell into heresy from that vision, unable to accept that anyone but God could wield such terrifying authority. Metatron embodies memory, cosmic order, and divine precision. He is the intricate mechanism by which ultimate justice is never delayed and never mistaken. Michael wields the sword of loyalty. Lucifer bore the light of creation. But Metatron holds the eternal record that outlasts them both. And next comes the angel no one ever prays to meet. Azrael, the keeper of the final breath. Azrael, the angel of death. There are angels you beseech, angels who protect, who heal, and who guide. And then there is the singular one you fervently hope never arrives prematurely. Azrael, the angel of death, known in Arabic as Israel and in Hebrew as Azrael. His name means helped by God. A gentle name for the most solemn and inescapable of tasks. But Azrael is not inherently cruel. He is not feared within the celestial realms. Crucially, he is not the bringer of death. He is the supreme receiver of the soul, carrying out the divine command with perfect precision and tenderness. In Islam, he is Malik al-Maut, angel of death, one of the 4 principal archangels. At the moment of passing, he arrives. For the righteous, the soul leaves the body effortlessly, like water pouring from a tilted vessel. For the wicked, it must be violently torn free, like thorny wool ripped from a thorn bush. Hadith describe him with 4,000 gigantic wings and a body covered in eyes and mouths, each eye linked to a single living soul. When someone on earth dies, their corresponding eye on Azrael's body closes forever. In Jewish tradition, Azrael does not appear by name in Scripture, but his quiet, powerful presence is deeply felt, especially on the night of Passover when the firstborn of Egypt perished. Many believe the silent, unstoppable force that passed through Pharaoh's land was Azrael. Unlike Samuel, who punishes, Azrael releases. He does not strike, he waits patiently. He appears in Christian mysticism as a serene soul guide, a quiet, necessary companion at the moment of departure, sometimes appearing in blinding light, sometimes in comforting shadow, but always exactly as the departing soul requires. Even the majestic, weeping statues of angels in old graveyards are said to echo his profound solemnity. He is the guardian of the final boundary. Azrael is not your enemy. He is, in the end, the last friend, the one who comes when all others must stay behind. But beyond that final threshold, there is one more necessary force. Not gentle, not quiet, and not the one who receives your soul, but the one who first judges it. Samuel is next. Samuel, the divine severity. There exists a kind of profound, necessary darkness that does not originate with demons, but belongs wholly to heaven itself. It is a blade of divine judgment, a cold whisper at the edge of the conscience, a force that acts not from uncontrolled rage, but from unyielding law. His name is Samuel. In Hebrew, Samuel can be interpreted as either the venom of God or the severity of God. Either interpretation reveals his dangerous paradox, a celestial being infused with inherent, necessary danger. Though entirely absent from the Hebrew Bible, Samuel appears frequently in Midrash, Talmud, Zohar, and significant mystical writings. He is sometimes paired with Azrael as an aspect of the angel of death. But while Azrael receives the soul, Samuel executes the punishment. In certain rabbinic texts, he is controversially identified as the serpent who tempted Eve, intellect, dark seduction, and primal rebellion bound into one form. But unlike Lucifer, Samuel was not cast out. He remained because God still requires and uses his terrible severity. In Kabbalah, he is Michael's direct opposite. Michael is Chesed, mercy. Samuel is Gevurah, severity. One defends the righteous, the other executes the law upon the guilty. He is not necessarily evil, he is precise. He is a sword that does not hesitate to cut. Some traditions link him closely with Lilith, ruling the shadow world of the Qliphoth, which is a distorted, dark mirror of creation. While Michael guards heaven's radiant gates, Samuel tests who truly deserves to enter. Is Samuel Satan? Sometimes. In some specific texts, he acts as heaven's prosecutor, not a rebel, but a formidable challenger of human righteousness. In others, he is a distinct, separate force, not fallen but profoundly feared. He never disobeys. He simply executes what must be done when mercy is no longer permissible. In occult thought, he echoes Prometheus, bringing knowledge that wounds and power that divides. And when he finishes his relentless work, only then can the light of healing return. Next is Gabriel, the voice of heaven. Gabriel, the voice of God. Only two angels are definitively named in the entirety of the canonical Bible. Michael, who fights, and Gabriel, who speaks. And Gabriel's voice opens the door to the incarnation of God himself. Gabriel is the supreme messenger. His name in Hebrew, Gavriel, means the strength of God or God is my strength. But it is not the kind of brute strength that breaks bones or shakes the physical earth. It is the overwhelming strength of a word so pure, so absolute, that it fundamentally shifts the course of human history. Gabriel first appears in the book of Daniel, not as a warrior, but as a revealer of crucial visions. In Daniel 8, he is called upon to interpret a complex prophetic dream. In Daniel 9, he returns swiftly to clearly explain the mystery of the 70 weeks, a prophecy directly linked to the coming of the Messiah. Gabriel does not fight. He masterfully translates heaven's will into comprehensible meaning. But it is in the Gospel of Luke that Gabriel steps fully onto the sacred stage of history. He appears first to Zechariah, announcing the birth of John the Baptist. Then he is sent to Mary of Nazareth, delivering the message that she will bear the Son of God. This moment, known as the Annunciation, is not merely a miracle. It is the ultimate turning point of salvation history. And Gabriel identifies himself with chilling clarity. I am Gabriel, who stands in the very presence of God. In Islam, Gabriel, known as Jibril, holds even greater, almost unparalleled prominence. He is the angel of revelation, the one who appeared to the Prophet Muhammad in the cave of Hira, delivering the first sacred verses of the Quran. Over the subsequent years, he would return again and again, guiding the Prophet, teaching him prayer and law. Hadith describe him as possessing 600 magnificent wings, radiant and impossibly vast. When he revealed his full, terrifying form, the sky itself reportedly trembled. In Jewish Midrash, Gabriel is also depicted as a warrior of justice, believed to be the angel who destroyed Sodom, protected Daniel in the lion's den, and defeated the Egyptian angels at the Red Sea. He is not cruel, but he is unyielding. In Kabbalah, he rules the left pillar, Gevura, judgment. Not wrathful, but a refining fire, cutting away lies to reveal absolute truth. If Michael represents the manifestation of God's mercy, Gabriel represents his purity, justice that speaks before it ever strikes. In mystical traditions, he is the angel of dreams, visions, and intuition, the archangel of the West, guardian of water, of prophecy, and of the unseen voice in the night. And when the voice has been heard, when the absolute message has been delivered, what always follows is healing. Raphael is next. Raphael, the healer. Of all the 8 angels we have encountered so far, warriors, rebels, scribes, and judges, Raphael is the gentlest and most approachable. He does not fight cosmic battles. He does not accuse humanity. He does not issue terrifying commands. Instead, he heals. He walks beside you. He patiently and quietly mends what has been broken, with a grace so subtle it often goes entirely unnoticed. His name in Hebrew, Raphael, means simply God heals. But unlike other angels whose names are declarations of cosmic might or defiance, Raphael's name is an active mission statement. He exists fundamentally to restore, to bring wholeness where there was profound harm. We meet him most clearly in the Book of Tobit, a beautiful and cherished text in Catholic and Orthodox traditions. 2 innocent lives hang in agonizing despair. Tobit, blind and deeply bitter, and Sarah, tormented by the demon Asmodeus, who has already killed every man she tried to marry. God sees them both in their suffering and sends Raphael. He arrives disguised as a simple companion, a fellow traveler named Azariah, who quietly walks with Tobias, Tobit's son. On that long, perilous journey, Raphael guides Tobias without ever forcing his will. He protects him from unseen evil, teaches him how to use the liver of a fish to cast out the tenacious demon Asmodeus, and later instructs him on using the fish's gall to miraculously heal his father's eyes. And in the end, when the healing is complete and the family's future has been fully restored, he reveals the truth. I am Raphael, one of the 7 who stand before the glory of God. Tobit 12:15. In Jewish tradition, Raphael is revered as the angel of the sick, the dying, the traveler, the child, and anyone embarked upon the long, arduous road between suffering and peace. He is believed to have been the angel who healed Abraham after his circumcision, standing quietly with Michael and Gabriel at Mamre. In Islam, his parallel is Israfil, the angel designated to one day blow the trumpet to awaken the dead, not solely for judgment, but for resurrection and ultimate renewal. In Kabbalah, Raphael corresponds to Tiferet, the central Sephira of harmony, profound beauty, and integration. He is the necessary balance between opposing forces, the calming breath between absolute chaos and divine order. In mystical thought, Raphael is the guardian of the East, the rising sun, and the pure green gold healing light. He is the angel of medicine, of spirit, of dreams, and of the quiet, inexplicable miracle of survival. He is not loud or frightening, but he is always near. Wherever a wound needs tending or a shattered soul needs to find the strength to believe again. Still, some wounds penetrate far deeper than flesh. Some truths pierce more painfully than any physical agony. And for that profound work, we need fire. Uriel is next. Uriel, the divine light. Uriel, whose resonant name means light of God or fire of God, is the appointed keeper of divine intelligence. He is the guardian of cosmic mysteries too vast for fragile human language and too blindingly bright for unprepared eyes. He does not shake mountains or part restless seas. Instead, he awakens minds and forces souls into growth. Interestingly, Uriel is never once mentioned in the canonical books of the Bible. Yet, in apocryphal and mystical texts, his presence is utterly profound and consistent. In the foundational book of Enoch, Uriel stands among the 4 great archangels, Michael, Raphael, Gabriel, and himself, pleading with God on behalf of humanity during the deeply corrupt age before the flood. And when the great deluge was imminent, it was not God who personally warned Noah. It was Uriel. In 1 Enoch 10, Uriel is dispatched to earth, not to destroy, but to reveal. He tells Noah of the coming judgment, thereby giving him the necessary chance to prepare. His message is not one of wrath, but of wisdom delivered in time. Later, in the book of 2 Esdras, Uriel is sent again, this time to the prophet Ezra, who cries out in anguish, questioning why evil flourishes and the innocent must suffer. But Uriel does not soothe him. Instead, he challenges him fiercely. He replies not with comfort, but with painful questions of his own. You cannot even understand what unfolds on the earth, and yet you seek to know the very ways of heaven? Uriel is not a casual tutor. He is a consuming flame of divine logic, forcing the soul to spiritually mature before it can even attempt to grasp eternal truths. In the Eastern Orthodox Church, Uriel is deeply venerated as the archangel of repentance and divine justice, the one who shines a searing light into the human conscience, making hidden sin visible, not to condemn, but to urgently call for ultimate return. In Kabbalah, Uriel is sometimes strategically placed in Malchut, the lowest Sephira, where God's active presence touches the material world. In this crucial view, Uriel brings divine awareness into ordinary, everyday life, bringing light not strictly from above, but shining outward from within the core of existence. In esoteric systems, Uriel is the angel of the north, of earth, and of wisdom grounded in action. He is linked to prophecy, scientific discovery, the sun, and sudden intellectual breakthroughs. He serves as a silent guide in dreams, visions, and moments of profound intellectual clarity. Where Gabriel speaks the message, Uriel brilliantly shines the light. Where Michael defends the righteous, Uriel fiercely reveals the truth. He is the final voice of warning before ultimate judgment, the last clear light before the abyss. 8 angels, each one an essential reflection of a divine attribute, not merely messengers, but living manifestations of will, judgment, mercy, and profound mystery. Michael stood with the sword of God. Lucifer fell with the crushing weight of his own terrible pride. Metatron rose from the dust of humanity to sit beside the throne. Azrael waited patiently at the veil of life and death. Samuel executed justice without compromise. Gabriel spoke the sacred words that shaped salvation. Raphael healed the broken in body and in soul. Uriel lit the darkness with a truth few dare to face. They are not distant myths. They are potent mirrors showing us the eternal, shaping forces we confront in life, in suffering, in triumph, and in transformation. Some of us are being fiercely guarded. Some are being rigorously tested. Some are healing, learning, or breaking through to a new reality. Each of these mighty angels may walk with us at different pivotal times. So now the question is simple and deeply personal. Which one is walking with you right now? Thank you for joining this journey. If this narrative moved you, please subscribe, like, and share this with someone who is ready to see the world beyond the veil of the obvious. And always remember, angels do not always appear with visible wings. Sometimes they arrive as the profound choices we must make. Among all the angels we have mentioned, one figure stands utterly apart, not because of perfect devotion, but because of unprecedented defiance. He was the only one who dared to believe, in his unparalleled magnificence, that he could stand as God's equal. His name, by now, needs no introduction. Let us now descend into the depths of his mind and explore the eternal enigma of Lucifer, the fallen one. The heavens before the tragedy. Before his cataclysmic fall, heaven existed as a realm of perfect, flawless harmony and absolute order. Every single angel had a distinct and sacred purpose, and together they offered praise to their Creator in eternal, synchronized unity. The angelic hosts were divided into specific ranks, each with its own defining role and function. The seraphim, positioned closest to God, burned with pure, consuming love and endlessly sang the refrain, "Holy, holy, holy is the Lord Almighty." The cherubim protected divine wisdom and guarded the profound secrets of the universe with their flaming vigilance. Archangels, such as Michael and Gabriel, served as primary messengers and field commanders, meticulously carrying out God's most important commands. And the regular angels, those closest to the earth, watched over humanity, guiding and protecting individuals throughout their lives. Above all these ordered celestial ranks stood one single being, the masterpiece of creation. Lucifer, famously known as the Lightbringer. His beauty, his intellectual brilliance, and his reflected glory were absolutely unmatched. He was created with extraordinary care and precision, full of profound wisdom, exquisite grace, and overwhelming power. Lucifer's name was perfectly suited to his function, to bring light to the cosmos and to lead the other angels in synchronized, ecstatic worship. As the magnificent leader of heaven's grand choirs, his voice inspired deep awe, and his regal presence commanded instant, absolute respect. Among all the angels, he shone the brightest, admired and genuinely loved by all who saw him. But Lucifer's unique radiance was not merely a physical attribute. It was, fundamentally, a perfect reflection of the Creator's own glory. Every action he performed was initially a tribute to God, and his soaring, divine songs echoed throughout the entirety of heaven, filling the celestial realm with sublime, holy melodies. The other angels looked up to him, not only for his staggering beauty, but for his apparent dedication to their shared Creator. However, this very brilliance and unique positioning soon planted the insidious seeds of something darker. Lucifer's unmatched beauty, his great authority, and the universal admiration he received began to dangerously stir pride within his soul. His exalted position, though magnificent, remained ultimately one of devoted service, a simple fact that would soon trouble him deeply and fundamentally. While the visible heavens remained outwardly peaceful, a quiet, internal disquiet began to brew within the heart of the morning star. The subtle corrosion of change began deep within Lucifer's being, unnoticed by the countless legions that sang his praises. Beneath the breathtaking, polished facade of his shining exterior, the first, barely discernible tremors of treason were stirring, incubating in the magnificent heart of the star who had been heaven's undisputed paragon. The genesis of pride, Lucifer's flaw. Lucifer's fateful trajectory from celestial luminosity toward utter shadow commenced with a notion so fine, so delicate, it was initially dismissed as mere introspection. As the most gloriously radiant, the most intellectually gifted, and the most authoritative of all beings brought forth by the Creator, he was the recipient of perpetual adoration from all the heavenly hosts. Yet, this tide of admiration brought forth a lethal self-awareness. And from this deep self-contemplation, an insidious query took root. If my glory is this boundless, could my inherent brilliance not equal, or perhaps even eclipse, that of the one who merely sparked me into existence? This seed of vanity started as the faintest mental whisper, a hot spark of pride immediately fueled by the very things that defined him, his unparalleled splendor and his supreme station. The ancient scriptures subtly hint at this pivotal corruption, noting that the sheer weight of his own perfection became his downfall. Your heart became proud on account of your beauty, and you corrupted your wisdom because of your splendor. As eons passed, that initial pride metastasized, evolving into an aggressive, consuming hunger, a desire not simply to execute the Creator's will, but to aggressively ascend above it. Lucifer began a ruthless audit of his assigned function. Why, he mused with burning resentment, should he, the very definition of celestial splendor, remain forever in a subordinate role? Why should his matchless light eternally function only as a passive reflector of God's glory, instead of blazing forth as an independent, sovereign source? These corrosive thoughts, though silently nurtured, inexorably began to dictate his conduct and alter his magnificent bearing. He gradually withdrew from the spontaneous, infectious harmony of heaven, replacing unity with chilling introspection and his previous clarity with an unsettling enigma. His formerly pristine, joyous leadership of the angelic choirs curdled into a relentless, burning ambition. The observant angels sensed his shift, noting a palpable tension disrupting the seamless perfection of their cosmic realm. What began as a tiny internal flicker of conceit quickly transformed into a ravenous, all-consuming conflagration. Lucifer began to architect a conceptual throne for himself, one destined to be elevated higher than the very stars of God. This single, fatal spark of pride irrevocably marked the true beginning of his insurrection, the first, shattering fissure in heaven's absolute peace, God's paternal warnings and infinite endurance. As Lucifer's pride inflated, an ever-widening chasm opened between him and his Creator. Yet, God, in the fathomless depth of his love and eternal forbearance, did not instantly discard his most magnificent creation. Instead, he reached out to Lucifer, offering clear, compassionate counsel and countless opportunities for repentance and return. The divine voice, characterized by both gentle warmth and unyielding authority, spoke directly to the core of Lucifer's troubled spirit. My son, pause and remember the true source of your light. It is a gift, a reflection of my perfect love. Do not allow the corrosive shadow of pride to shroud the profound beauty I have intrinsically woven within your being. Lucifer's external response was meticulously crafted, reverent and flawless in its expression, but internally, he was a battlefield of conflict. He lowered his gaze, reciting conventional words of submission and adoration, but the raging fire of his new, soaring ambition continued to blaze undiminished beneath his perfect mask. God, whose vision penetrates far beyond superficial declarations and into the deepest recesses of the soul, fully comprehended the devastating moral struggle Lucifer faced. Still, he afforded him immense time, space, and perpetual reminders of his steadfast love. The Creator's admonishments were never meant as harsh decrees of enforced subjugation, but rather as tender invitations toward restorative humility. He gently reiterated the immutable divine order, where every being, regardless of their splendor, found their ultimate purpose rooted in unified service. Tragically, these constant reminders only served to deepen the schism in Lucifer's heart. To his distorted perception, they felt less like guiding wisdom and more like oppressive restrictions, chains cruelly holding back what he now perceived as his boundless potential. God's patience was truly infinite, but even infinity has its measure when tested by willful defiance. The psychological tension in heaven became painfully palpable as other angels began to notice Lucifer's dark metamorphosis. Some, approaching him with genuine distress, implored him to reconcile with the source of all light, while others, utterly seduced by the sheer magnificence of his flawed brilliance, began to echo his quiet, treasonous doubts. In defiance of all divine warning, Lucifer's pride continued its dangerous swell, setting the cosmic stage for the cataclysmic rebellion that would forever tear the tapestry of creation. The revelation that shattered Lucifer's allegiance. The absolute turning point, the single moment destined to reshape the entirety of existence, arrived with a monumental divine declaration. God, operating under his omniscient wisdom, unveiled a new, astonishing initiative, the eventual creation of humanity. These new beings, fashioned intimately in God's own image and likeness, would uniquely house both physical flesh and eternal spirit, a fragile yet profound convergence of the celestial and the terrestrial. But the revelation climaxed with an even more unthinkable decree. God further declared that in the appointed time, he himself would take on human form as the Messiah, descending directly into their temporal world to secure their redemption from the ravages of sin. For the overwhelming majority of the angelic host, this revelation was met with profound awe and tearful wonder. The concept of God's measureless love extending down to embrace such a vulnerable, mortal creation was the ultimate testament to his boundless grace. But for Lucifer, this announcement was not awe-inspiring. It was an unbearable, profound insult. To contemplate the necessity of bowing before humans, creatures of clay, was a humiliation he could not possibly reconcile with his own glorious brilliance and entrenched pride. As God unfolded the vast scope of his plan, Lucifer's deep-seated discontent boiled over into pure outrage. He viewed the proposed incarnation, God taking on mortal flesh, as a direct affront, a deliberate lowering of divine majesty itself. Why, his poisoned mind raged, should the angels, who were beings of pure light and absolute perfection, be required to serve and honor such inherently flawed, temporary creations? And why would God elect to become one of them, rather than elevating Lucifer, the single most glorious masterpiece of his own creative work? These thoughts became an obsession. The vision of the Messiah's future crucifixion, God's ultimate act of selfless sacrifice, filled him not with reverence, but with utter disdain. To Lucifer, it was not an expression of supreme love, but the final, unspeakable degradation of the divine essence. His bitterness hardened rapidly, morphing into explicit, organized rebellion. Deep within his heart, he forged a catastrophic decision. He would not bow. This definitive refusal was the absolute final step on his road to defiance, a chilling declaration that he would willfully choose ruin and fall rather than submit and serve. The faithful angels watched, horror-stricken, as their former morning star visibly recoiled. His once dazzling light was perceptibly dimmed and scarred by the shadow of pure, unchecked pride. The seeds of rebellion had fully matured, and heaven itself held its breath, bracing for the inevitable cosmic hurricane, Lucifer's defiance and the gathering storm. The decision was sealed. Lucifer would not bend the knee. What had begun as a silent, psychological erosion now erupted into open, brazen defiance. The morning star, once the luminous beacon guiding all of heaven, now stood immovably resolute in his absolute rejection of the Creator's new order. For Lucifer, this was far more than mere insubordination. It was a formal declaration of absolute independence. In the warped calculus of his mind, his supreme radiance and vast wisdom made him unquestionably worthy of a separate throne, one entirely equal to, if not greater than, God's own. Lucifer's innate charisma and commanding authority had always commanded fervent admiration. Now, he utilized these formidable gifts to sow meticulously placed seeds of spiritual doubt among the angelic ranks. Employing seductive, persuasive rhetoric and a compelling but false logic, he began to systematically question God's ultimate motivations. Why, he cunningly argued, should beings of flawless light serve those molded from mere transient dust, Are we not the true, flawless reflections of divine glory? Why must we lower ourselves to genuflect before what is inherently lesser? These dangerous words found traction, echoing powerfully in the minds of the wavering. Among the heavenly hosts, an astounding 1/3 of the angels listened intently and began their descent into indecision. They were captivated by Lucifer's revolutionary vision of a new, empowering order, one where they would be liberated from service and instead seize the power to reign. His rebellion was shrewdly framed, not as treasonous disobedience, but as noble liberation, a golden opportunity to violently overthrow their ordained roles and claim what they were convinced was their intrinsic, unfulfilled potential. Lucifer's following swelled exponentially, and simultaneously, the tension within heaven reached an explosive peak. What had always been a realm of perfect, vibrant harmony now visibly trembled beneath the unbearable weight of internal division. The angels who remained steadfast watched with deep, agonizing sorrow as their beloved brothers and sisters turned away, irrevocably seduced by the glittering falsehoods of Lucifer's rhetoric. Finally, the irreversible moment arrived. Lucifer, at the head of his amassed army of rebels, unilaterally declared war against the Creator. This conflict was not simply a skirmish for temporal power, but a fundamental, existential challenge to the entirety of the divine order. The rebellion marked the furious inauguration of a cosmic war that would permanently alter the foundation of creation. A terrifying war between enduring light and encroaching darkness, between absolute loyalty and self-destructive pride. The war in heaven. The heavens became a chaotic landscape of shattering light and clashing wills. Swords forged of pure divine energy clashed against the corrupted radiance of the rebels. Legions of the faithful, led by the Archangel Michael, fought with righteous fury to protect the divine sanctity against the armies of Lucifer, whose once perfect movements were now driven by the frantic energy of ambition. The air, if one could call it that, was filled with the deafening roar of battle and the piercing cries of angels in agony, a profound dissonance where eternal peace had reigned. Stars were extinguished, celestial structures shook, and the sheer force of the conflict threatened to destabilize all dimensions of being. This terrible confrontation was a necessary, harrowing struggle, but ultimately, it served as the irrefutable testament to the ultimate, inevitable supremacy of good over evil. The fall of Lucifer and the birth of hell. Definitively defeated and violently cast out, Lucifer's short-lived rebellion was crushed. Yet, its catastrophic consequences ricocheted through the entirety of creation. He and his vast host of followers, who had moments before been radiant, stellar beings of light, were hurled headlong into the abyss. A terrifying realm of absolute chaos and suffocating darkness, infinitely removed from the glorious illumination of heaven. This desolate, profoundly unholy pit became their agonizing, eternal prison. And for Lucifer, in a grotesque perversion of his former title, it became his tortured kingdom, hell. Stripped brutally of his celestial splendor, Lucifer's astonishing beauty transformed into hideous ruin. His light, once a pristine reflection of God's glory, became a malevolent shadow, perpetually twisted by unquenchable hatred and gnawing envy. No longer the revered morning star, he acquired a terrifying new moniker: Satan, the adversary. The angels who swore him allegiance now fell with him, becoming demons, sharing in his calamitous fall and bound to an eternal torment of separation from their Creator. Satan is often portrayed not according to human gender, but as an embodiment of raw, terrifying power and unyielding menace. Common depictions feature him as a figure of imposing musculature, crowned with savage, grotesquely twisted horns and a face contorted by fury. His voice is mythically described as a lion's devastating roar, perpetually lurking, patiently waiting to consume and destroy. Yet, far exceeding his terrifying physical presence, Satan's true, devastating power resides in his unparalleled cunning and subtle deceit. He is the preeminent master manipulator, earning the dreaded nickname the Deceiver for his flawless ability to twist sacred words and corrupt the keenest minds. This mastery of wicked persuasion became his deadliest weapon. With his sharp intellect and dark charisma, Satan not only successfully led 1/3 of the angels astray during the cosmic rebellion, but continues, relentlessly, to entice and mislead humanity. His whispers are painstakingly subtle, often expertly cloaked in appealing logic or irresistible allure, gently persuading souls to abandon righteousness and fully embrace the darkness within. In the isolation of his terrible exile, Lucifer's rage festered, transforming into a scorching, focused desire for eternal revenge. If he was permanently forbidden to bask in heaven's perfect light, he vowed to corrupt the Creator's most beloved new project instead. His inaugural act of defiance on earth unfolded in the Garden of Eden. Assuming the form of a cunning serpent, he injected poisonous lies into the hearts of Adam and Eve, tempting them to partake of the forbidden fruit. With that single, devastating act, humanity fell from grace, and the cancer of sin entered the mortal world, marking the beginning of a relentless new campaign. One fought not in the luminous heavens, but within the vulnerable, susceptible hearts of humankind. The fall of Lucifer left indelible scars even upon the restored harmony of heaven. Though the light and unity were meticulously re-established, the chilling memory of the rebellion lingered, a solemn, painful reminder of the incredible danger of free will and the catastrophic consequences of unbridled pride. The angels who remained faithful grieved the profound loss of their fallen brethren. Simultaneously, on earth, Satan's influence became humanity's constant, challenging foil. His terrestrial mission was terrifyingly clear: to maliciously lead God's mortal creations astray, systematically sowing doubt, pride, and despair. Yet, even in the face of his tireless, wicked schemes, God's persistent grace remained humanity's steadfast guiding light, offering absolute redemption to all who sincerely sought it. The fall of Lucifer was, therefore, not an ending, but the brutal opening act of an eternal spiritual war. His defiance became the very root of all evil, a destructive force that continues to shape the contemporary world. But even as darkness spread its tendrils, the divine promise of light remained, a timeless reminder that no matter how deep the fall, hope and spiritual redemption are always eternally within reach. Lucifer's ongoing influence and the weight of 666. Even after his conclusive, physical expulsion, Lucifer's immense shadow continues to stretch over humanity, spreading temptations and sophisticated deceit designed to relentlessly steer people away from their Creator. Operating as Satan, his singular, consuming goal is the total corruption of God's image in creation, thereby fueling an endless cycle of sin and rebellion. Over millennia, his influence has solidified into enduring symbols, dark myths, and disturbing rituals. Among these malignant symbols, the number 666 stands out as the most chillingly potent reminder of his presence. It is commonly understood as the spiritual antithesis of divine perfection, which is universally represented by the number 7, the sacred seal of God, symbolizing completeness and rest. This association of 7 with divinity stems from biblical numerology: 7 days of creation, 7 spirits of God, etc. The sinister reputation of 666 finds its most prominent source in the apocalyptic book of Revelation, which explicitly identifies it as the number of the beast. For many, it unequivocally signifies a dark force that purposefully misdirects humanity toward irredeemable spiritual error. Legends surrounding 666 only amplify its mystique and dread. One apocryphal ancient tale posits that the sum of 3 sixes, 18, represents 18 corrupted virgin angels. According to this alarming story, if these specific angels are gathered and offered in a highly specialized, sacrificial ritual, Satan possesses the power to rise again physically from the depths of hell. Though clearly fantastical, such enduring tales underscore humanity's enduring fascination with and deep, primal fear of this number. Strangely, the unsettling presence of 666 seems to extend beyond pure theological myth and into the very fabric of nature and human history. For instance, carbon, the fundamental atomic building block of all organic life, is structurally composed of 6 protons, 6 neutrons, and 6 electrons. In recorded history, significant catastrophic events have eerily coincided with cycles linked to the number. Consider the unsettling alignment of disasters on a repeating 666-day cycle. World War I erupted on August 1, 1914. 5 such cycles later, in September 1923, the Great Kanto earthquake devastated Tokyo. 11 cycles later, in December 1941, Japan launched the attack on Pearl Harbor. 17 cycles from the war's start brings us to August 6, 1945, when Hiroshima endured the catastrophic impact of the atomic bomb. Even in modern technological times, the fear of 666 manifests in peculiar avoidance behaviors. In 2013, a high school athlete in Kentucky flatly refused to compete while wearing the assigned bib number 666. Early computer processor manufacturers also meticulously avoided using 666 MHz as a speed specification, opting instead for 667 MHz to preemptively sidestep public controversy. From personalized license plates to recorded birth dates, people often go to extraordinary lengths to sever any perceived association with this number, reflecting its enduring, powerful hold on the global human imagination. However, 666 is not merely a marker of fear. It has also become a focal point for dark spiritual devotion. Since the tumultuous Middle Ages, rituals dedicated to the veneration of Satan have incorporated disturbing acts of self-mutilation and bizarre, illicit sexual practices. During the 12th century, black masses emerged as clandestine ceremonies expressly designed to honor the demon king, offering a radical counterpoint to the era's excessively strict religious mandates. At the time, certain Catholic authorities taught that believers were not permitted physical intimacy even within the bonds of marriage, except solely for the purpose of procreation during narrowly prescribed months. If a couple conceived outside these sanctioned periods, they were often subjected to years of enforced abstinence as stern punishment. These excessively restrictive moral codes left many feeling profoundly constrained. Consequently, a number of individuals defected to the worship of Satan, seeking a perceived, more comfortable life free from such debilitating religious restrictions. This dark trend aggressively continued into modern times. In 1966, Anton Szandor Lavey established the infamous Church of Satan, complete with its rigid hierarchy, defiant slogan, and the foundational Satanic Bible. Adherents performed rituals that were frequently shocking in their grotesque nature, including alleged sacrifices, both animal and potentially human, offered to the Black Pope. Lavey's movement attracted tens of thousands of followers across America, many of whom were young, socially marginalized, and highly impressionable. Some believers were tragically convinced that dedicating their souls to Satan would miraculously grant them tangible power in this life and dominance in the next. Paradoxically, many who embrace Satanism argue that their chosen Lord is not truly evil or cruel. They often reason that according to the Christian Bible, God is responsible for the death of millions, for instance, during the Great Flood when he annihilated all human life save Noah's family, or the complete destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah due to their deemed wickedness. They also cite the plagues God inflicted upon Egypt, culminating in the killing of all Egyptian firstborn sons. Meanwhile, they argue Satan has killed comparatively few people. He merely tempts them, prompting them to act upon the evil that is already intrinsically present in their flawed human nature. Tragically, such beliefs have led directly to horrifying, depraved acts. Over a decade ago, a group of high school students in France desecrated a grave, stabbing a corpse's heart with a crucifix, and documenting the shocking act with photographs. Upon arrest, they proudly proclaimed their identity as Satanists. In Germany in 2011, a young couple murdered their friend during a satanic rite, tattooed demonic symbols onto his body, and drank his blood. They were certain their sacrifice would placate their master and secure his favor. These chilling stories brutally illustrate the dark, downward path paved by satanic worship, where an unnatural reverence for wickedness completely eclipses all established moral and ethical boundaries. Satan's influence extends further into the spiritual conflict known as possession. In the Bible, demonic possession is depicted as a direct, terrifying manifestation of his power, inflicting deep mental and physical torment upon the victim. Dr. Richard Gallagher, a respected psychiatrist and professor at New York Medical College, spent 25 years diligently investigating cases of alleged possession. Initially a profound skeptic, Gallagher eventually encountered phenomena that utterly defied conventional scientific explanation. One of his most crucial cases involved a woman who claimed to be a high priestess of Satan. She displayed specialized knowledge of distant events and spoke ancient languages she had absolutely no previous means of learning, leading Dr. Gallagher to the reluctant professional conclusion that her condition simply could not be accounted for by standard psychiatry. Gallagher's clinical observations of possession included startling, verifiable behaviors. Victims speaking fluently in languages they had never studied, exhibiting seemingly superhuman physical strength, or revealing shocking, hidden truths about those around them. While the vast majority of cases he studied were successfully attributed to various forms of mental illness, a stubborn, small percentage remained that empirical science could not possibly rationalize. Gallagher's work emphasizes the enduring, unnerving mystery of possession and the need for a comprehensive understanding of the spiritual forces actively at play. Despite its fearsome reputation, the numbers 666 and Satan's enduring influence ultimately serve as profound reminders of humanity's innate vulnerability to temptation and the perpetual, ongoing battle between the forces of good and evil. The symbol of 666 is not merely a mark of encroaching darkness, but also a persistent call to vigilance, strongly urging humanity to recognize and resist the shadows, and instead, actively seek the eternal light. The role of Lucifer in the Apocalypse. Lucifer, the angel who was once the dazzling morning star, assumes a climactic and terrifying role in the ultimate apocalyptic vision laid out in the Book of Revelation. Depicted as the great dragon and that ancient serpent, he stands as the central, monumental antagonist in humanity's final spiritual confrontation. Revelation portrays Lucifer not just as an abstract symbol of evil, but as a tangible force whose absolute, final defeat signifies the crowning triumph of God's sovereign divine plan. Revelation begins by identifying Lucifer as the ancient serpent, specifically called the devil or Satan, who leads the whole world astray. He is characterized as the ultimate deceiver and the perpetual accuser of humanity, wielding influence primarily through malicious lies and sophisticated manipulation. His role as the great dragon underscores his centrality in this cosmic struggle, orchestrating vast global events through his two primary earthly agents, the beast and the false prophet. The text emphasizes Satan's temporary, terrifying power during a period known as the tribulation. This era is marked by widespread global suffering, comprehensive deception, and the apparent, temporary dominance of evil forces under Satan's control. The beast, often interpreted as representing oppressive political empires or totalitarian leaders, violently rises to power, enforcing worship through terror and manipulation. Working alongside the beast is the false prophet, who utilizes corrupted spiritual authority to legitimize the beast's reign, performing deceptive signs and counterfeit miracles to mislead the masses. During this dreadful time, the infamous mark of the beast, 666, becomes the mandatory symbol of allegiance to Satan. This mark unequivocally signifies the bearer's rejection of God's divine order and their submission to Satan's counterfeit, temporary kingdom. For those who willingly accept it, the mark represents a definitive point of no return, irrevocably aligning their fate with Satan's eventual, certain doom. Despite his perceived temporary dominance, Revelation emphatically makes clear that Satan's time is strictly finite. He is ultimately cast into the abyss for a duration of 1,000 years, symbolically representing the severe restriction of his malevolent influence and the peaceful establishment of Christ's millennial reign on earth. Following this period, Satan is briefly released, leading one final, desperate rebellion, gathering nations for a climactic, hopeless battle against God's rule. He attempts a final, futile overthrow of God's kingdom but is utterly, definitively defeated. Fire descends from heaven, consuming his forces entirely, and Satan is forever cast into the lake of burning sulfur, an eternal punishment shared with the beast and the false prophet. The prophecy concerning Lucifer in Revelation serves as both a dire warning and a glorious promise. It warns humanity of the inherent dangers of deception, the arrogance of pride, and the inevitable end of rebellion, illustrating the catastrophic fate of all who oppose the Almighty. Simultaneously, it assures believers of God's absolute justice and the eventual, comprehensive restoration of all creation. Lucifer's decisive fall and eternal punishment stand as the final, absolute testament to the supremacy of divine love and flawless righteousness. For all readers and believers, the narrative of Satan in Revelation issues a perpetual call for unwavering vigilance and deep faith. It perfectly encapsulates humanity's ceaseless struggle between good and evil, and it offers the ultimate, enduring hope that in the end, God's brilliant, perfect light will prevail. Through Lucifer's final, spectacular defeat, Revelation provides the ultimate closure to the entire story of rebellion with the powerful affirmation of God's supreme power and boundless grace. As the tragic tale of Lucifer unfolds across the history of heaven and earth, his final, total defeat in the book of Revelation provides a resolution that resonates with both profound hope and stern divine justice. The morning star, once the pinnacle of beauty and glorious perfection, ultimately transforms into the most important cautionary tale of pride and defiance ever told. Through his complete downfall, Revelation affirms the ultimate, unshakable supremacy of good over evil and offers humanity a glimpse of the final, glorious restoration of all things. Lucifer's journey from heaven's highest, most cherished ranks to the absolute depths of eternal punishment reveals the devastating, irreversible consequences of daring to defy the Creator. As the great dragon in Revelation, Satan exerts his influence during the agonizing period of tribulation, deceiving nations and relentlessly leading humanity astray. Yet, this period of chaos is purposefully included. It serves as a critical test of faith, a purification process for believers, and the final stage for God's ultimate, glorious victory. In Revelation's climactic, final moments, Satan's supposed power is unmasked as utterly fleeting and illusory. After the beast and the false prophet are plunged into the lake of fire, Satan's final rebellion collapses into total failure. The image of fire descending from heaven to consume his armies symbolizes definitive divine intervention and the inexorable triumph of eternal truth. Satan is permanently bound and cast into the lake of burning sulfur, a place of eternal, irreversible separation from God. This final act underscores the unyielding futility of any opposition to the Almighty Creator and establishes the absolute permanence of divine justice. Yet, Lucifer's dramatic defeat is more than just a historical account of divine judgment. It is a profound story rooted in hope. The conclusive end of his cosmic rebellion irrevocably clears the path for the magnificent fulfillment of all God's sacred promises. Revelation speaks eloquently of the dawning of a new heaven and a new earth, a purified cosmos where God himself will reside among his redeemed people, and every painful tear will be tenderly wiped away. The enduring scars left by Lucifer's rebellion serve as solemn, eternal reminders of God's immense mercy and boundless power, reinforcing the crucial, timeless lesson that the light of truth and goodness will inevitably prevail over the encroaching darkness. For all of humanity, the tragic narrative of Lucifer offers both a stark warning and a gracious invitation. His devastating fall clearly illustrates the treacherous dangers inherent in excessive pride, unbridled ambition, and outright disobedience, while his definitive defeat affirms the transformative, enduring power found in faith and humility. This apocalyptic prophecy challenges all believers to remain eternally vigilant, to place their complete trust in God's overarching plan, and to steadfastly resist the subtle, pervasive deceptions of evil. Crucially, it assures them that no matter how great or overwhelming the trials and tribulations they face, God's sustaining grace is always sufficient, and his ultimate justice remains immutably unwavering. As the final, sweeping chapters of Revelation close, the morning star's tragic arc reaches its catastrophic end, but the powerful, instructive legacy of his fall endures through eternity. It is fundamentally a narrative defined by contrast. The destructive, corrupting force of rebellion against the Creator set against the redemptive, restorative power of divine love. Lucifer's tormented role, though filled with agonizing conflict and profound despair, ultimately serves a higher purpose: to magnify God's supreme glory and to intensely illuminate the clear path toward eternal peace. The entire saga of Lucifer is not merely about the descent of a high-ranking angel, but about the enduring, absolute promise that good will always triumph. His defeat stands as a testament to the unyielding resilience of faith and the boundless, universal reach of God's illuminating light. For all those who carefully heed the crucial lessons embedded within his rebellion, Revelation extends a powerful vision of unbreakable hope, a constant reminder that even in the most terrifying, darkest times, redemption and the opportunity for return are always within reach. If you found this story insightful, don't forget to acknowledge the effort by clicking like, share this narrative with others, and subscribe to our channel for more fascinating, in-depth explorations of spiritual and historical tales. What profound message do you believe Lucifer's story imparts to us about humanity and the difficult choices we confront every day? Let us know your deep, thoughtful analysis in the comments below, and please suggest any topics you'd like us to cover in future episodes. Let's reflect together on the timeless lessons from this epic narrative and consider how they resonate meaningfully in our own contemporary lives. Enoch, the revered great-grandfather of Noah, holds a unique place in history. He was the only man recorded who walked so intimately and closely with God that he was spared the taste of death. One pivotal day, he mysteriously vanished, taken by celestial angels directly into heaven. But his miraculous journey proved to be far more than just a simple ascent. He was guided through 10 distinct, separate heavens, each successive realm revealing deeper, more complex layers of the divine cosmic order. Some of these realms shone with a blinding, unbearable light where glorious angels worshipped in unending perpetuity, while others were terrifying abysses of perpetual darkness where fallen beings lay imprisoned, awaiting their final, inevitable judgment. His extraordinary experiences, meticulously recorded and preserved in the non-canonical Book of Enoch, unveil a vision of the heavens far richer and more complex than traditional teachings suggest. Before we embark on this incredible, detailed journey through the heavens, make sure to like this video and subscribe to our channel so you don't miss out on any more profound biblical mysteries. For now, join us as we ascend with Enoch and meticulously uncover the mysteries hidden within the 10 heavens. The first heaven Enoch ascended and suddenly found himself enveloped in a vast, expansive domain filled with fierce winds, surging clouds, and continuously shifting lights. This was the first heaven, the realm closest to the earthly sphere, yet still profoundly beyond the mundane reach of humankind. Here, the magnificent skies stretched endlessly, filled with the primal, dynamic forces that meticulously govern the natural world. Rain, swirling snow, crashing thunder, and enveloping mist, all were meticulously controlled by dedicated angelic beings appointed directly by God. He was shown enormous storehouses where the titanic winds were carefully kept, ready to be unleashed only at their precise, appointed times. Lightning fiercely flashed, held rigidly in place by colossal celestial guardians, while the angels responsible for weather and seasons moved in perfect, synchronized harmony, diligently recording the climate and conditions of the world spread out far below. Then, high above the clouds, Enoch beheld something even more astonishing. A vast, cosmic ocean, shimmering brightly like liquid crystal. These were the legendary waters above the firmament, the very waters God had separated from the earthly seas during creation. Genesis 1 verses 6 to 7. These waters held a terrifying, yet necessary, purpose. Enoch would later come to understand that in the days of his great-grandson Noah, God would release the stupendous reservoir upon the earth to utterly cleanse it of its deep-seated wickedness. Yet Enoch realized this was only the lowest, most accessible of the heavens. Above him lay realms of far greater mystery, power, and overwhelming revelation. The second heaven. The second heaven. As Enoch ascended beyond the first heaven, he entered a desolate realm of perpetual twilight and crushing despair. The atmosphere grew incredibly heavy, thick with an eerie, paralyzing stillness. No sun or moon provided natural light here. Only a dim, unnatural glow cast flickering, elongated shadows upon a colossal prison constructed entirely of jagged black stone, suspended precariously above a bottomless abyss. Great, ponderous chains stretched taut across the chasm, binding enormous, grotesque figures who hung upside down. Their once radiant forms were now twisted and contorted in agonizing suffering. These were the Watchers, the notorious fallen angels who had rebelled, descended to earth, taken human wives, and corrupted all mankind with forbidden, destructive knowledge. Their terrible rebellion had led to widespread chaos, birthing the Nephilim, giant, monstrous offspring that ravaged the world, as chillingly written in the Book of Watchers. And I saw the Watchers bound in a terrible place, hanging with their heads downward. And I asked, "Who are these?" And the angel said, "These are the ones who transgressed against the Lord, who mingled with the daughters of men. They shall remain here until the great judgment." 1 Enoch 21:6-10. Standing guard around them were mighty, imposing angels clad in fiery, impenetrable armor, their faces grim and stern as they wielded blazing swords to patrol the periphery of the prison. No plea for mercy or reprieve would ever be heard here. This prison offered a stark, terrifying contrast to the glorious heaven often described in Christian tradition, where angels dwell in eternal, joyful worship before God. Revelation 4 verses 8-11. This was a hidden, punitive realm of punishment, largely unknown to men. In mainstream biblical accounts, fallen angels are often cast into the abyss, 2 Peter 2 verse 4. But here, they were imprisoned within the heavens themselves, trapped far from both God's sublime throne and the corrupted earth they had once violated. The scene raised a chilling question. If even powerful angels could suffer such a dreadful fate, what awaited sinful, defiant men, and what greater mysteries lay veiled beyond the forbidding third heaven? The third heaven. As Enoch ascended into the third heaven, the suffocating darkness and heavy oppression of the second heaven instantly gave way to a realm of indescribable, dazzling beauty. A vast, breathtaking celestial garden stretched infinitely before him, where trees with golden leaves bore luminous, perfect fruit, glowing softly like captured starlight. The air was wonderfully rich with the exotic fragrance of flowers completely unknown to earth, their pervasive scent filling his spirit with profound, tranquil peace. Beneath his feet, the ground was covered in grass softer than fine silk. For great, powerful rivers flowed serenely through this paradise, carrying the pure essences of milk, honey, wine, and oil. At the garden's sublime heart stood the magnificent tree of life, its radiant, massive branches stretching impossibly into eternity. Surrounding it, the souls of the righteous, clothed in dazzling, shimmering white, walked in perfect tranquility, raising their voices in ecstatic songs of praise, while graceful angels moved seamlessly among them. This was paradise, preserved in its purest, immaculate form, utterly untouched by the contamination of sin and death. But as Enoch turned his gaze, the overwhelming light momentarily dimmed, and a horrifying, visceral sight emerged. Beyond the tranquil garden's edge yawned a massive, terrifying chasm, brutally tearing through the heavens like an open, festering wound. Unlike the flowing, gentle rivers of paradise, this abyss seethed with smoldering darkness and searing, agonizing flames. From within, tortured, agonizing wails echoed continuously, the voices of the damned, imprisoned in unrelenting torment for their willful defiance of God's eternal law. Here, sinners writhed in invisible chains. Their suffering was unbearable, yet crucially incomplete, for their final, absolute judgment had not yet come. A river of molten lava, thick and viscous like liquid iron, flowed endlessly into the depths, relentlessly feeding the abyss. Towering angels of punishment, clad in blackened steel armor and crowned with flickering fire, moved among the condemned, their unforgiving eyes glowing like twin embers. They wielded whips of flame and spears wreathed in lightning, carrying out divine retribution with neither mercy nor hesitation. Unlike traditional theological teachings that rigidly separate paradise and hell, Enoch witnessed both realms existing in stark, terrifying coexistence within the third heaven. The righteous and the condemned were dramatically divided, yet they both remained in a state of waiting, their ultimate, final fate still unfulfilled. Here, heaven was not solely a place of reward. It was also a crucial, interim place of judgment where destinies were fundamentally sealed long before the final reckoning. If even the righteous were required to wait for their ultimate reward, what greater, more profound mysteries awaited in the heavens above? The fourth heaven. As Enoch ascended into the fourth heaven, He entered a realm of dazzling, brilliant radiance, distinct from the paradise below or the abyss of the fallen. The sky stretched boundlessly, filled with colossal celestial bodies moving in perfect, meticulous harmony. Before him, the sun, moon, and stars were not merely passive lights, but mighty, active forces, each one governed by powerful angelic beings of immense stature and command. The sun burned with intense divine fire. The moon glowed with cold, silver brilliance, and the stars pulsed as if breathing in a celestial, rhythmic pattern. Legions of high-ranking angels moved with precise purpose, clad in garments woven purely from light. Some diligently recorded the passage of days on enormous golden tablets, while others tended colossal spinning mechanisms, wheels of fire and crystal that marked the measured flow of time itself. These were the celestial timekeepers, the unwavering guardians of cosmic order. One majestic angel turned to Enoch and spoke, with a voice like a chime of bells. The sun does not rise by its own will, nor does the moon wax and wane by chance. All things meticulously follow the eternal decrees of the Most High. Genesis describes the celestial bodies as mere creations of the fourth day, but Enoch saw much more. A hidden, operative realm where powerful angels maintained the very fabric of linear time. If even the stars were entirely ruled by unseen, supernatural forces, what greater mysteries awaited in the higher realms? The fifth heaven. As Enoch ascended into the fifth heaven, the dazzling radiance of the fourth heaven completely faded, replaced by a vast, cold, and desolate expanse where crushing silence reigned supreme. No light shone, and no angelic choirs sang. Only a great stationary army of towering warriors, the wingless angels, stood in endless ranks, utterly motionless. Their massive heads were bowed low in profound sorrow, their faces solemn and drawn, their armor dark and forbidding. An overwhelming, palpable sense of despair hung heavy over the entire realm. At first, they did not stir, as if time itself had frozen them rigidly in place. But when they finally beheld Enoch, a great, mournful cry arose, violently shattering the pervasive silence. These were the Grigori, the loyal watchers who once served under Santanel, an ancient name often linked to the Prince of Darkness. The mighty angel who rebelled early and was cast out of heaven on the second day of creation. Though these specific Grigori had not descended to earth like their fallen brethren, they had followed Santanel's commands and were now forever trapped in this forgotten, silent realm, neither fully condemned nor fully redeemed. They fell to their knees and cried out desperately to Enoch. "Righteous One, speak for us before the Lord. Intercede for us, for we are forsaken and left in this silence." Unlike the Satan of later Christian tradition who roams the earth and actively tempts mankind, Job 1 verse 7, Revelation 12 verse 9, Santanel's rebellion here was immediate, absolute, and final. He was stripped of his celestial glory and instantly cast down, leaving his devoted followers abandoned in perpetual silence. If even these mighty, powerful angels were left in such deep despair, what awaited Enoch in the heavens above, where divine judgment was understood to be absolute and unappealable? The sixth heaven. As Enoch ascended into the sixth heaven, the profound sorrow of the fifth heaven immediately faded, giving way to a realm defined by perfect order, meticulous organization, and unwavering divine purpose. Before him stretched an immense, glorious city of radiant halls, towering crystalline pillars and vast, humming courts, not constructed of earthly stone, but exquisitely woven from pure, brilliant light and fire. The very air vibrated and hummed with the continuous sound of quills scratching against massive scrolls and the soft, reverent murmur of voices reciting sacred decrees. Here, countless angels moved with focused purpose, serving neither as warriors nor messengers, but as meticulous scribes and divine record-keepers, clothed in robes whiter than freshly fallen snow. Their faces shone with a quiet, deep wisdom as they carefully inscribed the deeds of all humanity onto vast, glowing scrolls and tablets. Some worked in solitude, writing upon luminous parchment, while others stood before majestic thrones where greater, commanding angels dictated the momentous decrees of God that would eternally shape the fates of men and nations. Turning to his celestial guide, Enoch asked, "Who are these diligent ones?" The angel replied, "These are the holy scribes who write the prayers of the righteous, the precise judgments of kings, and the definitive destinies of the world. Nothing is ever forgotten, for all is written before the glorious face of the Lord. If even the smallest of human deeds were recorded meticulously in the heavens, what overwhelming experience awaited beyond, where the highest, most secret mysteries of God were revealed." The seventh heaven. As Enoch ascended into the seventh heaven, an overwhelming, suffocating radiance immediately engulfed him. Blinding, incandescent light stretched infinitely in all directions, yet miraculously, it did not burn. Rather, it filled him with unbearable awe and profound reverence. Before him stood the highest, most powerful order of angels, beings of unimaginable majesty. The seraphim, towering figures composed of pure, living flame, each possessing 6 enormous fiery wings, hovered above. With 2 wings, they shielded their eyes, covering their faces from the blinding, intense presence of the Almighty. With 2 more, they covered their feet in humility and reverence, and with the last 2, they flew in endless, mesmerizing motion, their voices echoing across eternity in a singular, powerful chorus. "Holy, holy, holy is the Lord of hosts. The whole earth is full of his glory." Beside them stood the cherubim. Each possessed 4 diverse faces, that of a lion, an ox, an eagle, and a man, representing the magnificent fullness of creation. Their colossal bodies were covered entirely with countless, brilliant, all-seeing eyes. They moved with the terrifying speed of lightning, their wings whispering with immense power. Beneath them were the thrones, beings of unimaginable, silent grandeur. Their forms were vast celestial wheels, perpetually covered in burning eyes, endlessly turning in perfect, synchronized harmony, serving as the bearers of the divine will. This was the first of 3 realms situated closest to the direct presence of the Most High, where even the greatest of angels respectfully veiled themselves before his majesty. For the first time, Enoch began to truly feel the tangible presence of God, a force beyond mortal comprehension, radiating powerfully through the very fabric of existence. The higher he ascended, the closer he came to the original, inexhaustible source of all creation, the 8th heaven. The 8th heaven. As Enoch ascended into the 8th heaven, the golden, pervasive glow of the 7th heaven slowly faded, revealing a vast, structured realm where the entire cosmos was set into intricate, perpetual motion. This was Muzaloth, the domain where time, seasons, and all celestial movements were meticulously decreed. Before him stood colossal storehouses containing the immense forces of nature, vaults of bound lightning, harnessed winds, and massive reservoirs of snow, hail, and torrential rain, all severely restrained by divine command. 1 Enoch 41:1-2. Above them, 12 immense celestial gates glowed with ethereal light. As they opened, constellations silently emerged, moving with perfect, precise order, guided by radiant angelic guardians. Turning to his guide, Enoch asked, "Where do these majestic stars originate?" The angel replied, "From the 9th heaven, the realm of the fixed stars. These gates serve as their passage to declare the fixed times and seasons of the earth." Enoch stood utterly awestruck. If even the heavens adhered strictly to a divine decree, what greater, foundational mysteries lay beyond in the 9th heaven, the very place where the stars themselves were perpetually born. The 9th heaven. As Enoch ascended into the 9th heaven, he finally realized he had reached the true origin of the constellations, the very place from which they initially emerged before descending into the regulated lower heavens. Unlike the operational celestial realm of the 8th heaven, where the stars simply moved through gates to mark time's passage, this was Kechavim, the very foundation of the heavens, where the great luminaries had been permanently established since the dawn of creation. All around him, Enoch beheld colossal, burning spheres of radiance, far more brilliant and intense than the sun and moon of the lower heavens. These constellations, which had passed through the celestial gates of Muzaloth, were not merely wandering entities, but the appointed rulers of the cosmic order. Each one was assigned its eternal place and specific function. 12 mighty constellations, representing the signs of the zodiac, stood arrayed like powerful kings upon a divine, celestial map. Their presence dictated the precise times and seasons of the world below. Between them, immense angelic sentinels moved with solemn grace, their flowing robes woven from starlight, their eyes reflecting the boundless depths of the universe. Some stood perpetual watch over the ancient, unshifting stars, while others gently guided newborn luminaries into their destined, orbital places. Turning to his guide, Enoch asked, "Is this the highest of the heavens?" The angel replied, "No, for above this realm is Aravath, the 10th heaven, where the Lord of all creation dwells upon his eternal, sovereign throne." Enoch's spirit profoundly trembled, for he knew that beyond this domain lay the final, terrifying ascent, the ultimate place where no created being could ever enter unless expressly summoned by the Almighty himself. The 10th heaven, and as Enoch ascended into the 10th heaven, all that he had previously known, the vast, glorious constellations of the 9th heaven, the complex celestial storehouses of the 8th, the myriad angelic hosts of the lower realms, vanished into utter insignificance. He entered Aravath, a realm so far beyond human comprehension that even his ascended senses struggled desperately to grasp its very existence. Sight, sound, and the concept of time itself lost all earthly meaning. It was not a physical place, but an absolute state of pure divine presence where even the greatest, most powerful angels trembled in ceaseless awe. Here, light did not merely shine. It was existence itself. Sound did not echo. It was intrinsically woven into the essence of reality. It was a domain beyond earthly perception, beyond any possibility of understanding, where even the highest celestial beings stood in eternal, silent worship before the one who ruled supreme over all. At the very heart of this overwhelming realm stood the throne of God, vaster than the entire universe, radiating a brilliance that no mortal eye could possibly endure, yet which no amount of darkness could diminish. Surrounding it were seraphim with wings of living fire, cherubim with countless eyes seeing instantly into eternity, and thrones moving like endless wheels of pure light. Their voices, immeasurable in power, seemed as reverent whispers before the one they worshipped. "Holy, holy, holy is the Lord God Almighty, who was, and is eternally to come." And before this ultimate throne stood Michael, the great archangel, his glorious form shining with an unbearable, concentrated radiance. He turned majestically to Enoch and spoke, his voice booming like distant thunder. "Behold, you have been brought here before the Lord, the King of Kings, to receive the profound secrets of heaven and earth, of time and eternity. But know this, your incredible journey does not end here." Michael then solemnly declared the will of the Almighty. Enoch would indeed remain perpetually in the glorious presence of God for all eternity, never knowing the corruption of death. However, before his final ascension, he was mandated to return to earth one last time to deliver God's urgent messages to mankind. Through him, the divine mysteries were to be meticulously written down, the revelations of heaven and the severe warnings of judgment, all preserved for posterity in the sacred book of Enoch. Then, when his monumental task was completely fulfilled, God would summon him once more, lifting him definitively beyond the confines of mortality. No longer merely a man, he would be spectacularly transformed into Metatron, the highest of all angels, clothed in brilliant robes of fire. His entire body would be turned into pure celestial light. His form would expand exponentially to fill the heavens. And upon him, God would bestow 72 magnificent wings, each more radiant than the brightest stars, and 365,000 all-seeing eyes, ensuring that absolutely nothing in creation would ever be hidden from his omniscient sight. His powerful voice would echo throughout the cosmos, and he would sit beside the throne as the celestial scribe of God, the supreme ruler over the angelic hosts, second only to the Almighty himself. Enoch fell prostrate onto his face, completely overwhelmed by the majestic decree. Though he could not fully comprehend the glory spread out before him, he knew his destiny had been permanently sealed by the Most High. In Christian tradition, Enoch's ultimate fate often remains a relative mystery. The Bible simply states, Enoch walked with God. Then he was no more, because God took him away, Genesis 5 verse 24. Unlike the comprehensive Book of Enoch, which meticulously details his celestial journey, Christian theology does not typically confirm his radical transformation into Metatron. Instead, he is generally seen as a man taken directly into God's presence, his subsequent role left undefined. But in the revelatory Book of Enoch, his destiny was clearly far greater. He had personally witnessed the 10 heavens, seen God's supreme glory, and learned the core secrets of creation and judgment. His final mission was to dutifully record these staggering revelations for future generations. For days, he wrote tirelessly of the righteous, the wicked, and the coming, devastating flood. Then, his time on earth reached its conclusion. A great, blinding light descended, and before the astonished eyes of his family, Enoch was taken once more. Enoch, the man who walked with God, became an eternal witness, forever serving in the supreme courts of heaven. If you are fascinated by hidden biblical mysteries and profound ancient texts, don't forget to show your support by liking and subscribing for more deep dives into these incredible narratives.